Welcome to Toy Business Unboxed, your gateway to the secrets of the toy industry. Here's Jason Shea, a toy entrepreneur and expert in the field.
Every product we develop is really inspired by some of the real life experience that we have with our son.
60% of all toys last year were sold on Amazon, which is incredible.
Be passionate about it because it's a road, it's a journey.
Like when you have an idea that you think is like gonna somewhat change the world, make things better, I'd say go for it.
We'll guide you through the enchanting world of toy design, marketing, and manufacturing. Now let the unboxing begin.
Welcome to another episode of Toy Business Unboxed. In today's episode, we're joined by a very special guest, Calli, who is a pediatric occupational therapist and also a consultant who's passionate about bringing OT principle to toy design, which is a very unique concept. And Calli have worked with so many different brands over the years and helped them to create product that's not only fun, but also aid in skill development, sensory processing, also daily independence. So thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And I think, like I mentioned before we started the recording, you're my first OT on the podcast. And I think you have a very unique skill set. Can you first start off by sharing your background? How do you get into occupational therapy first, and how do you get into toys?
Yeah. So I'm a pediatric occupational therapist. I really just have a big passion for play and child development. My journey with OT really was inspired from my love for helping children engage in activities that were meaningful to them. And that all started when I was in college. I was a camp counselor for a camp with kids with muscular dystrophy. And we were trained by an occupational therapist on day one on how to help with their ADLs, how to help them get dressed, how to help them navigate the camp and all of that. And I thought it was just, I don't know, it was an eye-opening experience for me, just being able to watch them engage in activities that they, outside of that camp, weren't capable of doing, like swimming and boating and fishing and other camp experiences. And just over the years, I just started to specialize in play-based learning, adapting things for kids so that they were able to participate in them, really focusing on fine motor skill development and sensory processing. And just along the way, I realized how impactful well-designed toys and products can be in facilitating development. I started transitioning more to this consulting role just so that I could bring OT knowledge into the world of toy design. I started developing products for parents on how they can use this toy in different ways, really increasing the longevity out of toys as well through my OT lens.
Yeah, that's very unique. I think you are one of the very few, at least you're the only one I know that's specialized in what you do. And based on your experience, can you give some example of how some of the OT principle influence some of the toys product design with the client that you work with in the past?
Yeah, I think for occupational therapists, it's really about how children interact with the world and tailoring those experiences to support their development. OTs are very creative, and we offer this kind of unique lens of using task analysis to understand what skills they need to participate in daily living skills and what toys can they play with to start to develop those skills that they need to be independent, to be confident, and to access their environment. So OT principles really help us to think about how toys can promote specific skills, like manipulating objects, strengthening those fine motor skills, encouraging problem solving, providing sensory input to help with regulation. And I think OTs also provide that different lens when it comes to inclusivity and ensuring toys meet the needs of children with really different abilities.
I see. And what are some of the few key things that the toy brand should keep in mind when they're, especially designing for kids with sensory processing issues?
I think when it comes to sensory processing, it comes down to very just simple products. I think if there's too much going on, it's hard to understand what the specific goal of that product is for the child. And you want to make sure it's not so overwhelming for them if they are having sensory differences, have a hard time modulating different sensory inputs, and making sure that it's very clear as to what that toy is meant for them. So just keeping a very clear idea and clear goal in mind when it comes to the design. But I also think that there's this other element too of making sure that it offers unique sensory experiences too, and making sure that we can maybe adjust those sensory experiences. Can we adjust the volume on it? Can we adjust the lights? Can we provide different textures that are more soothing or colors that are more soothing for them? So I think keeping all of those thoughts and ideas in mind when it comes to design from all of those different sensory systems can really help aid in the design process.
Yeah, I think that's very important to think of. And even that also applies to some of our own product, because we also have a toy brand that we design toys for people with special needs. And we're also trying to make sure we're not overwhelming with too many different colors, with too many different elements. And in your experiences, how can like Son of Toys really help improve fine motor and also gross motor skills in children?
Yeah, I think toys are incredible tools for building fine motor skills. Fine motor skills can be really supported through toys that encourage grasping, pinching, manipulating those small pieces, and then gross motor development can be fostered with toys that promote more movement, like balance boards or climbing structures, or even simple games that involve that reaching or jumping or tossing. I think the key is designing toys that are both fun and functional. So you want to keep the kids motivated and engaged. So it's got to be fun for them. And I think therapists are really skilled in adapting those toys to meet the needs of the child, making sure that we're involved in it. We are able to do it with them and really just build that relationship with them to give them that just right challenge so that they can be successful. I think some great toys that focus on fine motor skills is putty or Play-Doh, toys that require you to insert an object into like a specific area, like kind of think of coins in a piggy bank kind of toys. Toys that have tongs available for the child to use. I love the toys with the tongs that have the animal as the tongs, like a squirrel or a bird picking up their food. I think those make it really motivating for the child that maybe they're having a hard time grasping a spoon or a fork, but they pick up these tongs with a squirrel on it, and it's fun for them. And they're at the same time developing the skills that they would need to hold a fork or a spoon.
Or they can just learn how to use a chopstick.
Or chopsticks, toothbrush. There's so many things. Buttoning a shirt, tying their shoes. The list goes on.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a lot of toys in Japan that play like the chopsticks skill. Like you can pick how many you can pick up in like a certain time. That's different game that's designed around the chopstick as well.
Yeah, I love that.
Because that's what all the kids need to learn, is how to use a chopstick.
I think those are hard. I was at dinner the other night, and it was at a Korean barbecue place, and they gave us chopsticks, and they all looked at me on how to hold them. Why my best over here?
Yeah, that's a perfect fine motor skill example, right? Yeah. And you have worked with a lot of different brands. I think Love Berries and a couple other brands. What are some of the examples? How do you, I don't know if you can share that or not, but can you share some of the example how you integrate some of the OT principle that you mentioned in the real life setting in the design?
Yeah. A lot of what I do for brands is I look at it through my OT lens and how a child may interact with a toy differently than it was really intended for, to increase the longevity out of these toys. These toys can be quite an investment for families, and they want to make sure that they're picking the right toys that not only support their development, but also they can play with for a really long time. So I think it's important to showcase how toys can be used in different ways, how you can pair two toys together to reach different goals or to participate in a different play stage. So yeah, I just use my background in child development and social emotional learning to showcase these different things and just bringing a unique eye to the picture and to provide some expert knowledge when it comes to design, but also when it comes to marketing too, because I think that's important when it comes to toy marketing and sales and all that stuff, making sure parents understand the why behind the toy and why they're buying it.
Yeah, it's showing case the benefit of the toy and how is that going to have a good impact in the child's development. And that also actually lead to my next question is like, why do you think it is important for the toy company to consider the different developmental stages of the child when they are creating the toy. And I think especially for the kids with special needs, my experience is the age doesn't always coordinate with their actual development stages. Can you also talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think it's really important to meet the child where they're at. Age has somewhat to do with it, but more about seeing what kind of skills that the child needs to work on. Where are they at with their skills? How can we best support them through this just right challenge? I think a toy that's maybe too advanced or maybe too simplistic can frustrate them or even bore them. So I think aligning toys with developmental stages, companies can really ensure that their products are not only enjoyable, but supportive of different skills that kids are naturally working with at that time. It also creates a sense of mastery and confidence, which is important for a child's self-esteem. If they're working on something that their same age peer is already doing, but it's really hard for them, how can we give them success and give them confidence to maybe try at the level below that to support their growth in that skill? So I think it's important that toys also grow with children to meet their needs at different play stages. I've seen this play out with my child. I have 2 kids. They're 5 and 2. And we have a toy kitchen that has just been the perfect example of a toy growing with children. And they play with it from when they're 1 and all the way up until they're 5. And I'm sure my kids' toy kitchen will never leave. Never. It's just a great toy that works on a lot of different skills, meets different areas of play stages. So I just think knowing how a toy can meet different developmental stages is really important.
I see. And how do you incorporate that into maybe, I know play testing is also very key in a lot of the toys and game development.
Yes.
Do you also help the company that you're working with to facilitate some of the play testing to see how is the product actually being used in the real life with the kids?
Yeah, absolutely. I can. I think it's important to understand how a toy is interacted with in that natural environment or even in the school environment or in a therapy session. I think if you look at the toy industry, not only are parents buying toys, but also a lot of therapists who work with children. And I have, even before I had kids, I was walking up and down the toy aisle trying to find new things to motivate kids. So I think it's important to understand who the audience is as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely a very important part. And how will you suggest the toy and game company to balance the fun aspect and also the therapeutic aspect of their design? Or do you even talk about the therapeutic part, or do you focus more on the developmental part when you're working with the companies?
I think it focuses a lot on both. I think they both go together. I think OTs are very creative and great at following the child's lead while also weaving in therapeutic elements. We offer a lot of parent education as well. And I'm also, parents are coming to me, their friends or parents of children that I work with, like, what toys should I buy if my kid is needing to work on this skill? And I think each child is different in terms of which toys they will gravitate towards. So when I'm looking to invest in a toy for a child or offering a recommendation, I want to make sure that the toy can work on many different skills. I want to make sure that toy can last. I want to make sure it can grow with them. And yeah, I think the goal is to create toys that children want to play with, not just for parents, but therapists. Both think that they're beneficial. So I think collaborating with OT, like myself, when it comes to design, is really good at striking this balance between fun and really engaging and supportive toys.
I see. And do you have any success story based on the different product development you have worked on, where the OT-driven design really make a big impact in the final output of the product, and also make a big impact to the kids that's using the product?
Yeah, I think when it comes to toy design, I've done a little bit. I'm still in the beginning stages of working with different companies. One in particular kind of success story I think I would have is designing a space for children who have some different sensory needs in the school or in their home. I think we are able to offer a great perspective when it comes to understanding a kid's unique sensory needs and be able to offer really specific recommendations for them. So occupational therapists can evaluate a child's sensory preferences and make recommendations based on those needs. So for instance, if a child seeks out a lot of tactile or proprioceptive input, I think they would benefit from like a sequence panel on the wall, or they would enjoy access to a body sock or a soft beanbag chair to sit in. They may enjoy different fidget and being able to pick out the right fidget for that child, because there's so many out there. And then maybe some weighted products as well. So I think just understanding what the goal is for the product, and OT can provide some input into the design when it comes to sensory needs as well.
I see. And can you also share some of the common mistakes the toy and game company might make when they are designing a product, especially for kids with special needs, either on the spectrum or that's neurodiverse?
Yeah, I think we're talking about mistakes, maybe overcomplicating the design a little bit. I think kids with autism or ADHD often thrive with simplicity and clarity. Toys with too many bells and whistles can maybe be overwhelming or distracting for them, and they won't engage with it as much. I think another mistake is failing to provide opportunities for regulation, like sensory elements that can help a child calm down or focus. I think it's important for toys to be adaptable and versatile, allowing kids to enjoy them and feel comfortable and engaging them for their unique needs.
Yeah. And one of the things I try to create with some of our products is like really the concept of the calm down corner, especially for the kids on the spectrum that tend to have tantrum or have a meltdown. I don't know, have you also worked on, I'm pretty sure with your career, you have also worked with kids that might have lower tolerance to like sensory input. But when, as a toy designer or a toy maker, what are some of the maybe tips or tricks that you would suggest the toy maker to think about when designing specific toy that could help, the kids with different type of issue? For example, maybe toys specifically for the calm down corner that can help smooth the kids from the meltdown, etc.
Yeah, I think that is really key to supporting them, making sure that they feel safe with their sensory needs. I like to go through the sensory checklist to see what that kid may benefit from. Maybe they need that proprioceptive input and more tactile input and less of the auditory and visual input. So for that, I would dim down the lights, maybe give them like a cool little lava lamp to look at that's very dim and simple, and making sure that they have access to some tactile input, or maybe some calming music, or maybe it's completely silent and it's dark and we just have a place for them to sit and engage in something really simple and small. I have helped families create that space for their children, so that's been really beneficial for them, and I've helped schools create a little area for them as well. So I think OT just has that expert knowledge when it comes to designing different spaces and making sure that it meets their needs.
I have a business idea for you. Have you ever considered like designing a countdown corner for retail store, especially for the smaller retail store yet?
That would be really cool. I think it would be really cool to also create spaces in public like areas, like venues, like concert venues or libraries or different stores that could benefit from. Because I know there's a lot of my family that I work with a really hard time going to a Target with a child, and they're overwhelmed. What if there's a space for them to go to here's what we're going to do. Here's an area that we can co-regulate and be in a space and be in a mindset to where they can go through an overwhelming experience, but able to have a safe space to go to.
Yeah, that's actually one of our partner with our toy brand. We partner with a nonprofit called Culture City. They do exactly that. They provide sensory inclusive space for NBAs, basketball stadiums, NBA, baseball stadiums, zoos, aquariums across the United States, Canada, Australia, and a few different countries. And they not only go in and design that space in the public venue, but they also provide some tools. They call it like a sensory bags. Inside you have some of the toys, and we are one of their like suppliers. So we supply some of our toys to their program for the stadiums, etc. So that's why I'm also aware of the program. Yeah, but I don't think that they are doing that for retail store yet. At least I haven't.
That would be cool.
Yeah, because for
Great idea.
example, one more thing we discussed before we started recording for Astra, which is one of the organization I'm also heavily involved with. It's all about like how can we create the specialties, toys, experiences that a big box retailer cannot provide. For example, there's no way Target and Walmart is going to create like a countdown corner. It's just not in their best interest to even do that. But for some of the smaller, like specialty toy store, maybe that may be some of the interests is for those store to create more of even a more tailored, personalized experiences, especially for family that have those special needs to have a space or like maybe even a corner of different product that they can purchase to help with those special issues. So something just to consider when you are talking to companies and even the store owner, because I think inside before the recording, we also talk about potentially attending Astra together. So there will be a lot of retail store owner that you can also talk to and at least pitch that idea and see what the reception is going to be. I think that you might be able to get some of the interest from the retail store as well.
Yeah, I think it would be cool too to like showcase, hey, if they sell those products, the child be able to engage in them and see how they react to those different products in that calming space. And maybe a parent is like opens their eye to new ideas to get for their child for home and for on the go when their child is having a harder time regulating. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, for sure. And as we're toward kind of the end of today's interview, do you have any other advice that you will give to the toys and the game designer and manufacturer that's looking to include more of the OT principle in their product? What are some of the other things that they should be looking out for?
Yeah, I would say, not my biased opinion at all, but involve an OT early in the design process. I think we bring a really unique perspective on how children play, learn, and grow. And I think when we're talking about inclusivity and flexibility, how can the toy meet the needs of a wide range of kids while also still being fun? And I think if we're talking about another tip, don't underestimate the power of simplicity. Sometimes the best toys are the ones that allow children to use their imagination and creativity while working on those foundational skills without them really even knowing they're working on those skills. So I think collaboration is key. Don't be afraid to ask an expert input to make your products truly impactful. I think OTs do a great job just showcasing all the different ways a toy could be used as well. So even if you don't have an OT early on in the design process, but wanting to know how would an OT use this product or how would they use it in a different way, we can be really great brainstorming partners.
Yeah, and I think that's also a trend in the toy industry. I don't know, have you heard of a new certificate called MASH, Mental, Emotional, Social Health? That's actually a toy certification or toy accreditation that the toy designer can get. And I know the creator of that program as well, Dr. Amanda Gomer, that created the accreditation, which is incredible for certifying the toys under that kind of special applications. And they have a list of criteria that they go through to make sure the toy that the product and the toy company design is actually meeting some of the criteria to help with the mental, emotional, social health of the child. So that might be something you can also, partner.
You're giving me so many ideas.
Yeah. And because you have a very unique background, and I think that's something that, based on all the people I have interviewed over all the episodes, that you're the first one that have the OT background and expertise that is also passionate about bringing some of your expertise into the toys and game industry, which is, I feel that's very important, especially with post-COVID. There's a lot of anxieties, and that's people, just even kids, is not interacting with each other as much compared to before. So if we can design some of the toy that can really enrich some of child's life, I think that's going to be very impactful for the future generation, of course.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And okay, so for the people that want to learn a little bit more about your work and how you can help them, where is the best place for them to find you online?
My Instagram is at Confident Kids Therapy. And then my email is Calli, Calli at confidentkidstherapy.com. And that's where I hang out. It's my email and my Instagram page for now.
I see. Okay. I'll make sure we include that in the show note.
Perfect.
And thank you for being on the show. And for our listeners, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Toy Business Unboxed podcast. We hope you have enjoyed the conversation and find it insightful and inspiring. If you like what you have heard, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. We really appreciate your support and would love it if you can leave us a review and share the podcast with your friend and colleague. For more resources, tips, and the latest update in the toys industry, visit our website at toy-launch.com. Join the conversation and connect with us on social media using hashtag ToyBusinessUnboxed. We'd love to hear your feedback and suggestions for future episodes. Until next time, keep innovating, keep creating, keep bringing joy through toys. This is Jason Shea signing off on the Toy Business Unboxed podcast. We'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much, everyone.